So you're James Gerber.
Yes.
Okay. And what was your birth date, James?
Uh, January of 1925.
Okay. And were you born? You're from Newark?
Yes.
Okay. And what branch of the service were you in?
Uh, Navy.
Okay. And what was your highest rank achieved?
Second class. Petty officer. Radio.
Okay. What did your mom and dad do for a living?
My father worked at Pure Oil Refinery in Heath. That was in 40. He started there in what, 42, 43, 43, I guess, while I was going. And he worked there until March of 1946.
You can talk.
46. Yeah, because I got home in December of 45,
Okay.
and he was working
Where did you live here in Newark? Where'd you grow up?
everywhere. You name it. A lot of time on Neal Avenue,
Okay.
and I lived down on Locust Street. I lived at 900 East Main Street. I don't know what the deal was, but the family kept moving us around, trying to get rid of me. I think
Did you have other brothers and sisters?
had one brother. He died young.
Okay.
Accident.
Okay. So when Pearl Harbor was attacked, do you remember that?
Yeah. I was a junior in high school. Senior, wasn't it? Yeah. When Pearl Harbor was attacked. I was a senior in high school. And I didn't even know where Pearl Harbor was.
And that was on a Sunday.
Yes.
How do you remember how you found out? I mean,
Yeah, my parents told me. And I said, "Where's Pearl Harbor?"
I think that probably a lot of people probably said where.
That wasn't a good thing to ask, because I found out firsthand where it was.
Okay. After that attack, since there wasn't as much news media as there is now, was it in the news? I mean, did that stay in the topic of conversation like from there till Christmas, or did it?
It wasn't as big a thing as it got to be. More so as it went along, and more people found out about it.
Did you notice anything at that Christmas did the bombing make that Christmas a little bit more somber, or was it still just not really realized what all had
I
happened?
don't think it had really sunk in too much yet. I can't think of anything that would show up other than individually.
Right. So when did you go in the service?
June of 1943. I turned 18 in January. My friends and neighbors requested my presence. So I went in June 43. We had to go to Columbus, to the old post office building in Columbus, to go through a physical. And I think there are about 1,200 of us or more running around there naked as a jaybird, getting a physical.
How many people ended up? Do you know? Didn't pass.
I think you would have to be dead not to pass. The physical was very cursory, and they were taken.
Okay. So then from Columbus, then did you ship right out then, or?
I went to Great Lakes, largest naval training station in the country. I forget how many thousand guys are up there, but I'm going to say several thousand at the time I was there. And you were broken up into companies, and you did your basic training, got your shots, learned how to march, and small boats, things of that nature. We went through about 30 or 60 days of that basic. Then we got a week leave. And then if your grade shows promise, you got a school. So I got into radio school, and I didn't get out of Great Lakes until, well, I was in there about 6 months before, and then I was assigned to a crew.
Okay.
And we were split up into crews, and our ship wasn't ready. So they sent us to would you believe it, a naval ammunition dump in Indiana. I don't know how they got it there. Some congressman must have, but we were back in the boondocks, and just beating in the time until they finished building this thing, built on the Ohio River. And when they got it finished, we got on it in the Mississippi, from the Ohio to the Mississippi.
Yeah.
We got on the Mississippi, and we had a Coast Guard ferry crew that went with us part way to, I think, to St. Louis, and then they got off. And then the regular crew took over down the Mississippi to New Orleans, around to Panama City, Florida. And previous to this, before we got aboard our own, they took us out to familiarize yourself with being on shipboard. Then we got our own ship, and were in the crew, which amounted to about, give or take, about 110, 120 men, all told. That's engineering, deck force, command.
What was the name of that ship, Jim?
Just for numbers.
Oh, okay.
We weren't dignified with the name.
Okay.
But they built about 1,200 or so, give or take, at other places as well as there. And they were strictly what I'd call a one-shot deal. We were a seagoing truck because we carried, I'm getting ahead of myself here. You want to hold up the cue card? Yeah, LST-69. Landing Ship Tank is what
Okay.
it stands for. It was the largest of the ships for under the small craft.
Okay.
Well, not really small craft. She was 328 feet with a 50-foot beam, but flat bottom, no keel. Now, if you've ever been to sea or know anything about ships, that's kind of hard to control because you got nothing below you.
Right.
So they have to ballast it up with, they use crude oil. And you could also burn it in your diesels. And we had, I don't know how many tons of that to lug around, but when we got through there, we went up to, I think, around Norfolk, Virginia. And in the meantime, we did a little gunnery training. And that got a little, they had a guy towing a target. And that was a mistake for him, because from what I gathered from the gunnery crews, I wasn't on a gunnery crew, you were assigned to what your battle station was going to be. And anyway, after we got all this shakedown done and battle stations assigned, went up to around Norfolk and put her in commission and loaded up for the trip to North Africa, the Mediterranean. For Bizertine was our first stop. And when we left the States, we were loaded with, I think, either 700 or 800 tons of TNT RDX, highly explosive.
I guess.
It was on the tank deck. The tank deck resembled a large gym floor, big hollow space, and also had an elevator. You come in, drive in, up to the elevator, and then put your equipment on the main deck for the short trips that you were supposed to make at different times, because we did many different things during our tour. And let me see. Oh, I have for you someplace. Well, you can look at these first. There she is. I can't remember who had these. One of our crew had these made up, and you could send away and get one. And this shows our entire cruise to the Mediterranean. And while we're in the Mediterranean, which was August 15th or 16th, we landed in southern France. And we had landed, I think, about 200 Army, and I'm not sure how many tanks, but they're part of this one consignment. And we went ashore at St. Maxime.
This says that was August 15th of 44.
Yeah,
So it was backing up the D-Day troops,
yeah,
supplying them.
yeah. Uh, the Germans did not offer much resistance on the beach there. And it was a clean landing for us because we drove right up and no problem getting up. Our guys got off dry.
Since it's flat bottom, that's why you could do that.
Yeah,
and that's what they
right.
made that for.
Yeah, that's right.
So you didn't have any trouble crossing the Atlantic with subs or any?
We crossed with, runs in my mind, 107 ships. Now, you bring up a sticking point. Yes, we had problems. What did I do with that? Oh, here. Since we're doing this verbally now, this is our whole thing. That gives you the whole detail.
Okay.
After service in the Med, we came back to the States, to New York, and we spent a little over 30 days getting the paint job and changing the guns and things like that. Then we left there and went down through the Panama Canal. And up to, well, Honolulu, or Pearl Harbor,
Right.
to begin with. And we fiddled around there for about, I think 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know what the holdup was, but in the meantime, I did some radio training with Army radios that I wasn't familiar with. And then we left there, and we passed Guam, Menawitoc, Saipan, over to the Philippine Islands, and we picked up Marines there and took them. Ostensibly, it was going to be the invasion of Japan from Okinawa. So before we did this, they had us practicing landing. Well, it didn't work because the beach that we were supposed to land on, of course they had deleted this, was a beach that we were to hit if the Japanese hadn't surrendered. Between the time that we were going to practice and they surrendered, we got stuck on the beach. Drove up, we couldn't get loose. When you land one of those things, you got a anchor on the stern that's supposed to unreel, and then when you're ready to get out, it's supposed to reel up and pop you back. It didn't happen, and we had to get a seagoing tug to get us off the beach, which would have been disaster.
All right.
I've got a picture someplace. See if you can find that picture of the 534.
Okay.
The 534 was anchored right adjacent to our ship, only they had blown, kamikaze had blown part of the bow doors and the ramp, and she sunk. They lost not a great deal of men, but they lost, I'm going to say, a dozen or thereabouts.
Yeah.
So it was not a good place to be at that time. And at that instance, the Japanese surrendered. And then we spent times hauling supplies and people here and there and everywhere, which is what we did in the Med also. We carried German prisoners of war. We carried French Senegalese troops. We carried some Australian troops all over the Mediterranean and into Italy mainly.
Yeah. Did you have any when you took like the POWs, the German? Was there any contact that you had with them, or were they just keeping?
Now that you mention it, one of our crew, our illustrious deck force, was a character from, where was he from? New Jersey or New York?
New Jersey.
Stole the German officer's Iron Cross. And the old man, the captain, forced him to give it back. He said, I might have known it was you, not me. But the guy, he was somewhat of a character.
But he had to give it back.
He gave it back.
That's good. So the war ended, and then so you did that. When did you get out?
Here's the deal on getting out. We had thousands of guys that had been overseas in all kinds of places, and for every day or every year that you were overseas, you got points. And when you got 10 points, you got out. They just wanted rid of us. I mean, what are you going to do with 10, 12 guys,
Right.
12 million guys standing around? So the deal was, and I had no idea about it, was that when we were in New York being refit, we got married. Guess who got 10 points?
You did?
Put me on the beach at Okinawa, waiting. I had to wait there 2-3 weeks anyway for transportation back to San Francisco. I finally got a ship and went back to the States, to San Francisco. I was there about a week, and then sent us back to Chicago, where we were mustered out. And that's the story.
And then you came back to New York?
No, came back to Chicago when I was out of the service there. Then I got,
Yeah, but once you mustered out, you came back here to Newark then? To live?
yes.
What did you do after the war, Jim?
Well, I thought I was going to go to work for Pure Oil. That's a small refinery, gasoline refinery.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, my father was killed. He and one trainee were working the second shift, 3 to 11 or 4 to 12. And we'd come in, we had moved out to Brownsville, and we rode in, had one car, and we rode in, took him to work. And then she blew up.
So then you didn't go to work for Pure Oil?
No. So I saw an ad in the paper railroad would hire. Now, the railroad's the cheapest bunch, tight as bark on a fence, but they did pay, and they would through the state you could collect enough money to get by on while you were learning to railroad. And I learned, I think it was about 3 months, and I went to work for the railroad as a block station operator. We switched them over here from over there and back here, and hold this and do that. I did that for 38 years.
What railroad would that have been? B&O?
Started with the B&O.
Okay.
Then the B&O merged with the CSX is what it turned out to be. And finally CSX took over completely, and that's when I left.
Candy's dad was on a railroad. I think he was an engineer. Harold Gregg. I don't know if you know Harold Gregg or not. That name? Gregg.
Harold Gregg. The name sounds familiar, but I don't.
Because he retired from the railroad, too.
I had. Where the heck did I put that? I'm always doing that.
Oh, yeah, you and me both. I'll have it in my hand, and then I'll start looking for it.
Oh, I left out a part.
Okay.
The most important part, really, or the most terrifying, on our way into to the Med, we were just in the Straits of Gibraltar when we were attacked. This was at 0500, and this German, now I didn't see it because the Radio Shack was my battle station.
Right.
And we were at battle station. And this Ju-88 comes, he's right on the deck, had this, I guess, torpedo or bomb, and he missed us by about 10 feet across the bow.
Goodness.
That's with all that ordnance that we were carrying.
Right.
That ordnance, the Free French had sunk a lot of their own ships to keep the Germans from getting, and there was blocking the harbors. So this ordnance was to blow those up so that you could navigate.
Oh.
That was the deal. But that was one thing about my job. The LSTs didn't have portholes other than for the bridge where you had to navigate from. But everything else was just solid. And when you went through the wheelhouse and back through the chart room and around, that's where I hung out. In little, I don't know, 4x8 maybe, on a good day. I had a transmitter big enough to reach Mars, I think, about the size of that refrigerator out there. A TDE transformer, and then I had a smaller transformer and 2 receivers. And when you went in there at battle station, you stayed there. So you had no idea what was going on deck.
You could just hear it.
Yeah. A lot of things that happened I didn't know about until we had a reunion after the war. And I told these guys, I said, if I'd known that you guys were trying to kill me, I wouldn't have come along.
Why did you choose the Navy?
My dad had been in World War One.
Really?
He wasn't in too long, but he was in the Navy. And I'm glad I picked the Navy.
Yeah, there were worse spots to be.
A lot of sightseeing,
Yeah.
but all in all, it was quite an experience. When they said join the Navy and see the world, they weren't kidding. The only trouble with seeing the world was when you hit the sack at night, there was water all around. When you got up the next day, there was still water all around. You saw nothing.
Saw a lot of water.
You saw a lot of water, and it all looked the same. Although every once in a while we would put ashore for provisions, because you're feeding 120 men, and you had to supply.
Did it ever get to you, the tight quarters? Did it ever bother you?
You got used to it, but my God, you had all your gear. Well, below your deck, there was a hole that you could put your sea bag in, which wasn't much of a deal either, because your sea bag was about this big around, and that was everything you owned. And they gave you a little locker. And in our ship's control division is what we were, as opposed to engineering and deck force and so forth. And there were, normally about 8 of us in this, and there are three bunks high, boom, boom, and boom. And you triced up your sack in the daytime, unless you were sleeping after going on watch or something like that. And the rest of it, you just milled around with these other guys all the time. But you got used to living that way.
You never got seasick at first? Did you ever get seasick at first?
Yes, sir, I did. And the funniest thing was, it was the first day out in the Gulf of Mexico, and we were doing, oh crap, I'm on watch. Well, you're 24/7, so you were on watch, 4 on, 8 off. For the radio man, and I'm trying to copy. Everything was encoded, no plain language, anytime. And I'm trying to copy this stuff. You copied the headings, and for a while we had to copy everything that came. Five letters or 5 numbers on each message, and they were addressed. You were an action addressee or whatever else you might be, and you had to copy the thing, and then the comm officer decoded everything that was addressed to you or your ship. A lot of it was all ships, or you had a call sign. Ours was Nan Fox, Nan Roger, NFNR. Pretty soon they loosened up a little bit. They said, just copy the headings unless it pertains to us. Well, I don't remember who was on watch, but he missed it. He should have copied it because it was a dress shot. And after that, you will copy solid Fox skids. They were put out from, if you're in the Atlantic or the Mediterranean, it was from Washington. And if you're in the Pacific, it was from San Francisco, I think. They put her out all day. You get damn tired of wearing those head things.
I'll bet.
Copying fox skids, what we call them mostly. But it was weather reports and enemy position reports, and it was supposed to be pretty important. I guess it was, but you did it.
There's probably a lot of them that weren't important, but you didn't want to miss the one that was.
That's right. Yeah.
So when you got out, since you served really in both theaters, then you served in the European and the Pacific theater. So did you get? If I remember right, they made different medals, didn't they?
Yeah,
European
battle stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got someplace.
That's okay.
Oh, I know.
You can tell. You can show me later.
Got my hat with the ribbons on it. Hey, babe. I have someplace. That's not the one I want.
Not this.
Yeah. See, American, European, and Pacific.
Okay.
I've got, and we got 2 battle stars, one in the European and one in the Pacific. A battle star doesn't mean that you were, it doesn't always mean that you were engaged,
Right.
but you were in the area where it wasn't a good place to be.
Right.
So we got 2 battle stars.
So you never had any problem with the Japanese Air Force when you were over in the...
No, it was pretty much on the downhill slide by that time, and it just took the dropping of the big bombs to convince the Japs we weren't kidding.
What was it like? I mean, after you'd been in all that action, then you're ready to invade Japan, and then you find out that they're actually going to surrender because we dropped the bomb. And I would think, I don't know what that feeling would be like. Yeah. Because you probably were so tensed up to attack.
Our crew was pretty casual. We were, it was a big relief. We had a lot of guys that had families, wives. Some of them shouldn't have been in there in the first place. Some of our crew was in their mid-30s. They shouldn't have been there. They're too old.
They just volunteered.
I guess. But we wound up with some. Didn't ever lose anybody.
That's good.
Now, on our trip back from the Med to New York, I don't know, Bermuda, someplace in there, we were in convoy, always traveled in convoys. You had protection, destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and we had protection all the time that way. The only thing for us in the way of protection was our own protection was 20 millimeter and 40 millimeter cannons. Well, that was strictly aircraft, no protection as far as anything else.
Like a German sub or any Navy. If
Yeah.
Anybody that attacked you on sea,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have had anything. Huh. Did you manage this? Did your crew stay in touch? It looks like they did. Some
Yeah.
after the war.
You know, the ship, they sold it to a scrapper, brought it back to New York, cut her up for scrap.
Probably a lot of them. They did that too.
Most of them. Now, there have been 2, maybe 3 brought back to the States. We went aboard one down in Alabama. The guys had kicked in and bought this bucket from the Greeks, I think, and they'd use it as pilot junk almost. You know, it really wasn't up to snuff. Anyway, they bought it and brought it back to the States, and little by little, they put it back together. They brought it up to
Indiana. Indiana.
no, down to around Marietta
Oh, okay.
for a couple of times, couple of days, I guess, and it was pretty good shape.
Did you have a hard time adjusting to civilian life when you got back? Do you feel like you did, or?
No, personally didn't. I know a lot of guys. Well, they saw a lot of more personal action, I guess, than what I was. So, if we've been bombed a couple of times, or like I say, had been torpedoed a couple of times, I've probably been a lot more cognizant of what it was, but we just kind of sailed through, lucky, the whole way.
How do you think your wartime experience impacted your life?
I learned to pick up my clothes, move it. I kind of got used to the rhythm of it. You know, do this, do that, do it here, do it there. I'm a good second. You give the orders, you got the stripes, I'll go.
Right. So the discipline.
Yeah.
Good. I don't want to keep you. Is there anything else you want to share with me on?
Well, if I could find it, I was gonna.
I'd like to, if you don't mind, take some of this stuff and copy it.
Yeah.
If you don't mind if I
That's
do
what
it, and I can bring it back tomorrow.
A good picture in Ellis, too.
Mm-hmm.
Here's his.
There's a picture. Oh, go ahead. Is that my letter?
No, dear.
Where is my letter?
Which one?
This one, from the Secretary of Navy?
Yeah.
Yeah, she handed that one to me.
Isn't that something? And you know, these people say they never got anything, so forth, when they came out of the service. Well, hey, somebody recognized that he
Yeah,
served.
now that was one thing that I noticed. Oh, you're back? You've been away? Where the hell do you think I've been?
They thought you were just staying in your house, or?
You know, it's been said that the guys didn't get recognition lately, but we showed up on nobody paid much attention.
There weren't huge homecoming parades for you, or
Not that I was ever in.
Hey, yeah, you got one when you come on for the honor flight.
Well, yeah. Oh, that was a great deal. That honor flight.
when did you do that?
That's been 3 years ago now. About the first one they did. That was a slick deal. You'd heard about it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very good. Well done.
Good.
Right on.
Well taken care of.
Oh, great.
That's good. Is that a picture of you?
Yeah, there you go. Now, that picture is not exactly accurate because you'll notice the stripes are on the right arm.
They're on the left arm.
Or on the left arm, I mean.
Yeah.
Well, a guy locally that I knew was in submarines, and I ran across him in Honolulu. Now, he wanted me to go to Liberty with him for the day. I said, okay, but I don't have a clean jumper. So I'm wearing his jumper with a first class pharmacist made.
And
That's taken on Waikiki Beach in Honolulu.
in 1944
Yeah,
in a borrowed uniform.
in borrowed uniform.
Here's a little rundown on LST there too. These guys. That's on his ship there where they were.
Goodness, this has got all your ports listed and everything. You did get to see part of the world, or at least the ports.
Yeah.
Did you get to
Yeah.
get off the ship much when you got into places like that, or?
Not a whole lot, really. Well, when we were in Italy, I saw a good bit of Italy, and there in Oran, and let's see where else.
Didn't you see a lot of Brazurti or no?
No, not there, but
That's where you went for the meal.
yeah, that was. We were anchored out. Mayor's El Kabir was for an anchorage outside of Oran, and our first captain was what did they make him? A lieutenant commander, I think. He was a lawyer from Pittsburgh. And they transferred him off our ship to Oran. Well, the officers wanted to get a message to him. And there's like a mountain road that ran from Mayor's El Kabir to Oran. Well, they gave me what they called a guard mail, communications to take for him to get. I never did know what exactly that entailed, but they gave me a 45, and they had another one of our crew go with me. He said, you can pick up a ride. Okay. So I got off the ship, and I'm walking with the other guy trailing. He was always behind me. I don't know what he was doing, but I said, come on, son. So we started walking, and trucks kept patting us, but everything was loaded. I couldn't get a ride. So we walked through an Arab village, I think about 3 miles, I'm guessing, pretty much. Got a ride back, And the officer says, "Where in the hell have you been?" I said, "I couldn't get a ride."
Or any cabs.
No cabs.
But you didn't have any trouble. It was just a long walk.
Just a long walk.
Was it hot?
I probably couldn't hit anything with that 45 if I had occasion to use it, but I guess that's the way we were supposed to do it.
Well, weren't all those Arabs wearing sheets?
A lot of them, yeah. Our beds had sheets, well, one-piece sheets, and the guys were getting them out of stores and selling them to the Arabs, and you see a sheet with some guy's name. Oh, it was quite an experience.
I'll bet.
I imagine that letter he's got there where they gave him permission to do that's when he went in there to the from Mazar Kabir to Iran.
To draw mail, including registered mail for this command? That would have been, Tunisia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's another picture.
Now, where was this one taken?
Oh, that was at home. I must have been on boot leave after basic training.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll copy these and then I'll bring them back tomorrow.
Sure.
Now that's a real young one.
Well, I guess. Now that's probably from when you first went in, isn't it?
Yeah.
From training camp.
How could you tell?
Yeah. Different colored uniform.
Why? The Navy is all tradition, and it takes 100 years to get anything fixed. But we were forced to wear your dress blues, 13 buttons on the fly. Yeah. And look at that hat.
Yeah.
That's a flat hat.
Uh-huh. So then when you graduate, they gave you this uniform. Is that the way
Yeah.
that worked?
That's your whites, summer whites.
You know,
Yeah.
summer whites, but I, when we were in Norfolk, I had a set of dress blues made, tailor-made. 16-ounce gabardine with zipper up the side, 12-inch bottom, bell bottoms.
How much did that cost you remember?
$50.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a ton of money, but boy, that thing was slit like your skin.
What was your pay? What did they pay you in the Navy?
The most I ever remember making with as a second-class petty officer and 20% for sea pay, $117 a month.
So that uniform, those blues were almost half a month's pay.
Oh yeah, where was I going to spend money though?
Well, that's true.
I sold it to a guy when I got off the ship. He bought the.
Are you glad you sold them, or do you wish you had them?
No, my regular uniforms down in the cedar chest in the basement. You could have that, but it won't.
I don't have a place to keep her.
I was down there. Well, it's been a while now, and I dug that jumper out, and I tried to put it on. Well, I got that thing halfway on, halfway off, and I couldn't get out of it. I had to holler for help to get me out.
You must have been, I mean, you're thin now. You must have been really thin then.
150.
I was going to say, goodness.
Good shape.
I don't think you
Man, up there at Great Lakes, when you were in school and in boots, they put you to you physically. 500 readily. Run down the beach, Lake Michigan, lift, I don't know how much tons, and then you got to to work in the child line. And that was a 12-hour job.
It's funny.
Yeah. I was running the China Clipper. That's all your dishes were put in a tray, and you had to take them, shove through the washer, and take them out on the other side and stack them. Time you did that for, I'm going to say at least 1,000 men.
That's a lot of dishes.
You're right.
I'll bet. Wore you out.
Yeah.
So you got a bunch of letters from home, it looks like.
Yeah.
So did those take a long time to get to you, or?
We got mail, I'm going to say, around every 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks. By the time you got it, it was all over. Whatever was important was done for.
Right.
But about every 6 weeks, I guess.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Do you remember ever getting homesick?
No, I didn't. Here you are. Some guys did. Some of them got real bad off it. Hey, that's the way it was.
Yeah. Is there anything else you can think of that you want to tell me about your time in?
No, I think that about some. Well, that letter, that 3 pages that you've got.
The history?
Yeah, there's the whole skinny
Yeah.
right there. It tells you where, when, and how.
And who put this? Did you put this together? Or did?
No, sir, and I cannot remember who did get that from me, but it's very good.
Because we can put that, we can scan that and put that right with the...
Yeah, that'd be fine. Anything you want.
Here's a letter he'd written to his folks about being stuck on the beach there. I didn't think you were going to tell him about the missile that went over or under your boat there, your ship, excuse me.
In front of.
Did they shoot that guy down? Did he get away?
He got away.
Did he?
We never fired a shot. By the time we got ready, now, scuttlebutt was all said that they got him later, but you know, by the time this filters down through 2 or 3 dozen guys, you don't know what happened.
Don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah.
All right.
But he missed a good chance. Your ships were in columns with 500 yards distance between the head, behind, and on either side. That was the way we traveled. Everything was distance and interval 500 yards. And but we were the last ship in the last column. Well, I can see why. Nobody wanted anything to do with it.
With all that munitions on there.
Munitions.
Unfortunately, he was a bad shot.
I think it tells you right in there. It describes it much better than I did.
Yep, it's right there. Bottom of the first page. It was at night.
Yeah, 0500.
Was it Monday morning you had to get up and go swimming every...
Radio school. They let us come down to Chicago for Liberty. And all you need was your Liberty card to show if the MPs want to know what they were doing. But I would get to Chicago and get on a train, another train, and go to, where was it? Where you picked me up?
Wasn't Mansfield, was it?
Well, close, but it wasn't Mansfield, but they had a stop off there. And I'd get there, and somebody from home would drive up there, pick me up. Now this would be on Friday, so you had till Sunday midnight to get back. I'd drive down here, I'd stay up all night. And then we go back up there Sunday morning, back on the train, back to Chicago, back to Great Lakes. I did that 3 times, I think. Nobody ever questioned me while I was doing that far from base, but I got away with it. But Monday morning, after all of this, you had to go swimming. You and about 50 or 60 other guys in this. Your guys are running over you, and I was about to drown anyway. I was too tired.
Did you get to come home any after? Did you get any leave after you got on the LST?
Well, see, you had 30 days.
I got 30 days
when we
got married.
Oh, okay.
Right in the middle. That was it.
He came home from the Mediterranean. They were refitting the ship and going to Okinawa or whatever.
Yeah.
That's when we got married then.
Yeah. And 10 points.
Yeah. That's good.
Well,
For me it was, but there are a lot of guys that weren't too happy about me.
We went to our 50th reunion a few years back, and the guys still had never forgiven him because he had those 10 points and got off the ship. Because most of them were single, weren't they?
Yeah.
When you talking about going up there to coming home on the weekends when it's Great Lakes there, of course you understand there was gas rationing then.
That's true.
Yes. And it took a lot of gasoline to get up there around Mansfield. And his mother, I think, was working up at Goodyear Aircraft at the time. I've forgotten what she did up
Drill press operator.
And had a lot of nice friends up there. And they would kick in their gas points and give her money so gasoline coupons so Jim could get home.
Because even then, a train didn't come all the way down.
No.
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 Huh. My nephew just finished his training up at Great Lakes. He
Really?
joined the Navy, and he just finished, and he's down in Florida now waiting for his further school.
Okay.
But so he was just up there.
Florida is where the amphibious forces train.
Yeah.
That's where we trained shipboard, that is. And the Army amphibious forces also trained there in Panama City.
What was it like going through the Panama Canal on one of those?
It was very interesting, very slow, but it was quite a deal.
What was your top speed on that?
Top speed on an LST was 13 knots, which is about 15, 16 miles an hour. And if
Mercy.
you look at that map, they figured out that we had traveled about 100,000 miles on that bucket.
So
At one time.
How long did it take you to get
Forever.
across the Atlantic?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Oh, I don't remember going, but coming back, the number 30 days sticks in my mind because it was December. And you don't want to be on the Atlantic in December because the weather. Now, that's one point I missed. I've been more scared of the weather than the enemy.
But you were. Well, and that's probably the reason you're traveling convoy.
Well, we've hit part of a typhoon over in the Pacific. And that LST, if you stood back on the bridge and looked out, and you could watch this, we were bending already, and then she would go up, all the ships up, and then cleared out of sight going down. And it was just like you drove into a brick wall. And then she'd go up on her beam ends, and I'd think, well, are we going over? Or what's happening? Back the other side.
How long did that last? Forever.
Too long. Too
I was
long.
gonna say.
Yeah. But that was more frightening or more concerning than anything else.
Nothing you can do about Mother Nature.
Not a thing. You're out there. Some of those ships, LSTs in the convoy going back to New York, you could see them on deck welding, trying to keep her together. But we didn't have that problem. She stayed together pretty good.
Wow. I can't imagine trying to weld during a storm like that.
Yeah.
I guess if your life depends on it, you figure out how to do it pretty quick, don't you?
Yeah. And also in that convoy that came back, we had a C1 tug. That's a big tugboat, powerful, in our convoy. And I don't know what or how it happened, but one guy over the side.
Huh.
He and the monkey.
Yeah. One of the guys brought a monkey on board. I don't know why. But topside there was railing, and there's grab irons all the way down. This monkey was up on top deck, and he jumped, but he missed it. Boom! Scratch one.
What? How upset was the guy?
He was not unhappy, but hey.
Wasn't anything to do about it. Did the monkey have a name?
I don't remember what it was. It just impressed me because it's boom and he was gone.
Where did he pick that up?
Oh,
You know?
John, I
Don't remember. Probably over on Africa somewhere.
Yeah.
Did he have it very long?
No,
Oh.
not very long.
Doug, I bet you won't run into anybody with as much junk.
No, this is treasure to me. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that once this goes, you can never replace it.
Yeah.
You know, it disappears, and that's why we want. I mean, we don't have a lot of room to store stuff, so I mean, we're just making copies, and we're just gonna scan it. That way, it's always preserved. So if anybody ever wants to see it, and they will, at some point, somebody's gonna want to.
I thought someplace in the picture in my album here. Oh, I've been sitting there too long. I don't have my sea legs anymore.
I could have handed that to you.
Oh, that's all.
We started to take the stuff out of there.
Yeah.
That's as far as we got.
Some of these are just pictures of where we were in the Philippines and Japan. But I was looking for that picture
Doug,
of the Fly 34.
I thought these were interesting. Jim said that's probably the only time they had muster, whatever muster is, where they were all together on. But look on the back where it's stamped. And then this one too, isn't that something?
I started once to change books, and then I never got it done. And I was looking for there's a whole bunch of pictures. Army, I tried to grow a beard. Forget it. Didn't work.
One and only time.
Yeah.
Look at on these envelopes too. We were trying to find and couldn't in a hurry. They would cut things out of there that he would tell us that he shouldn't, and then the suckers would put the piece in the envelope. But they had to. Jim said they did a very good job anyway, censoring that mail, did they, honey? Which picture are you looking for, love?
That 534.
I looked through there, but I
You
didn't
didn't see it? There's the old man. He was a,
That was the attorney?
no. He was a, what the heck? Real estate, I think, or some such.
And then he enlisted and became a captain.
Yeah, well.
And you didn't say on there in the very beginning, and I want to interrupt, but I didn't, and say that you were drafted. You didn't enlist.
No.
You got the famous letter.
Yeah. My parents would not sign for me to enlist. I guess a lot of guys got by without ever getting it.
Right.
A lot of that's around the Philippines and Japan. But I don't find the picture I'm looking for.
Well, if you run across it, let
Yeah.
me know, because I can put it in later.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I feel like I've had you tear up your whole house trying to find something.
Well, it gets me moving.